What's up, Game Leapers? This is Iggs. Welcome to the 13-12 tier list from Game Leap. If you guys want to improve your game, don't watch this video, bro. You're still going to be hard stuck. No, watch it. It's still interesting, you know, to find out who the OP champions are going to be from each patch and who the worst ones are going to be. But yeah, if you do actually want to improve your game on the Rift, make sure to check out the GameLeap.com website. In the description and comment section, our challenger players and coaches from around the world are uploading daily videos for our thousands of subscribers. They will help you improve at the game in terms of your micro, your macro. We have champion courses and guides with every single video you will need to improve and peak on the Rift. So check those out, and all you have to do is sign up to get exclusive access to a library of content. And let's get into the tier list. Now let's start in the top lane. So OP, we have 4 champions. We have Fiora, Jax, Kelsey, then we have Olaf, and then we have Poppy as well. Poppy kind of a recent inclusion because of the buffs that came in a few patches ago. And yeah, you guys can look at the stats. In pretty much every single elo, these are the 4 champions who remain as S+ tier consistently. Now as far as S tier champions go, we have a champion who's getting buffed in 13-12, this being Nasus. And for Susan in 13-12, your passive, your lifesteal is going up by 2% at each rank. And also your ultimate's cooldown in the late game is going down as well. So this means at level 11, it's 20 seconds lower. And also at level 16, it's 40 seconds lower. And think about level 16 when you have a lot of cooldown reduction, whether it's from something like, you know, Lucidity Boots, Divine Sundering, whether it's from Frozen Heart as well. This champion I think is going to be really, really oppressive, especially in lower elos when people don't know how to dominate him in the early laning phase. So watch out for Nasus. Now also we have Quinn here, guys, who's in S tier. And the interesting thing about Quinn is that she's going to benefit from Static Shift getting buffed in the early game because it will be dealing more damage at earlier stages of a game if you rush the item. And for Quinn at the moment, her best build is actually building this as a first item. And because she does so well against so many champions in the top lane, I think she's going to be great. She's actually really good at the moment with that setup, so like a Static Shift rush. So watch out for Quinn in 13-12. Other champions here who might be worth noting, we have Renekton because of the recent buffs, kind of like the Nasus buffs with the ultimate cooldown going down. He's actually really improved in terms of solo queue, which you don't really hear that much of because Renekton typically has been like a B, C tier champion in solo queue. But for him to be S tier in like every single elo at the moment, that really goes to show how good the Croc is. Now Loki, Broken, and I will make a specific video for these champions. We have Gnar, Graves, Ivern, Nico, Rumble because of the changes coming in, but they're basing his damage off his opponent's HP and also his own HP, making something like Demonic Embrace a bit better, and they're also buffing his attack speed from his passive, so when he overheats, he will be dealing more damage with his auto attacks. And in the top lane, because there's lots of melee champions, Rumble could be really good. That's the same for Ryze as well. Ryze is getting some buffs in 13-12, so you're getting more damage in your passive, your E is dealing more damage as well based off your AP, and your E is also traveling faster. This means against melee champions in particular, your flux will land, and then you can land your overload, right, your Q, which will detonate to those targets around it. I think this is going to be a really big buff for Ryze, and he does well in the top lane as well because he is a ranged champion and he can be very, very difficult to play against unless you do have a gap closer. But Ryze himself has his Rune Prison, and as long as you use this properly, you should be chilling big time. Then we have Sylas, and then we have Zac to finish it off. Now as far as other champions in the top lane go, getting some buffs, we have GP. Gangplank, your keg is going back to a scaling timer, so going from 18 seconds all the way to 14 seconds, the actual recharge of your keg, so it's no longer going to be on a flat 18 seconder. And as far as champions in the top lane getting nerfed, we have Gragas. His passive cooldown is getting nerfed, so it's going up 4 seconds. That's why Gragas is now an A tier, no longer an S tier. We also have K'Sante. Your E's cooldown is increasing. That's why K'Sante is moving down to B tier. In solo queue, he's still not the best champion statistically, but I think anyone who has played against a fed K'Sante, you know just how annoying that champion is. Apart from it, guys, that's really it for the top lane. Maybe you can entertain some sort of like overheal in your runes. So if you're a Conqueror champion, for example, or maybe press the attack like Quinn, something like this, right? You can run overheal because it's actually scaling off your max HP now. So that might be interesting. Just make sure you guys are not playing Nidalee. But yeah, let's move into the mid lane. And the OP champions in the mid lane, guys, we have Annie, untouched. We have Fizz, untouched. Then we have Nico, randomly untouched. And then we have Ryze, who we detailed a little bit earlier, for the top lane. These 4 champions are going to be the best. I don't think anyone can really contest these either. Like, Annie is Annie. She's not getting nerfed in 13-12, exactly the same for Fizz, because they buffed Fizz not so long ago, and they also buffed Lost Chapter, so it's 1100 gold. This means for Fizz, your mana problems in the early game are really just like made up because of that buff. Then we have Nico with Rocket Belt, all the recent buffs of this champion that made her unreal. She's like S+ tier at every single elo, and I can't believe they're not nerfing her, but that's beside the point. She's going to be broken. Then we have Ryze because of what I said earlier. Now as far as low-key broken champions go, we have Akali, Azir, Corki, and TF, and we will get into why these champions are OP in another video. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. Now the champions who actually got buffed and nerfed nerfed in this patch as far as the mid lane goes? Well, like I said, we've already talked about Ryze. Gragas as well got a little bit of a nerf. That's why he's going down to B tier. And he's more likely to get poked as well in the mid lane because there's a lot of ranged champions, right? Now, other champions worth mentioning here, we have Orianna. Your ultimate's AP ratio is going up 5%, and the base damage is also going up a later ranks. But I don't think it's going to be that amazing for Orianna. I still think she's a good champion at the moment with Sarah's Embrace, and she's always been a pretty good laner. And her shockwave going up in terms of damage, it's just about landing it that's the hard thing. Like, if they increase the detonation speed of it, I think that would be a much better buff to her shockwave, because people who have played against Orianna a lot, or who have like flash or just good mobility on their champion, it's very easy to dodge. But still, she's going to be good. That's why she's an A tier. And that's about it, guys, for the mid lane in terms of buffs and nerfs to actual champions themselves. We should factor in here the mid lane gold. I mean, it's the same for everyone. You are getting the gold that you were getting before, so they're removing that -1 gold per minion they put in like a few patches ago, which was pretty random. So that's the mid lane tier list for 13-12. I just highly recommend not playing Kayle or Lucian in the mid lane, even though Lucian's getting changed, so you might have some sort of like engaged jungler or like CC jungler. Still doesn't really mean that much. This champion is much better suited in the bot lane, and Kayle, I think she's much better suited in the top lane because she has like no magic resist, and you will get absolutely dominated. Now, moving into the last solo role, guys, we have the jungle, and there are 4 OP champions once again, these being Kindred, Nidalee, Rengar, and Rek'Sai. Now, Kha'Zix is getting nerfed in 13-12. That's why he's gone from OP tier all the way down to A tier, unlucky cockroaches. But yeah, these 4 champions, guys, in OP tier, I don't know how we can actually argue with this. With Kindred, Nidalee, Rengar, Rek'Sai, the items that are getting nerfed, like you might think Gale Force for Kindred, but you're actually going Trinity Force. Gale Force you don't care about. Also with Rapid Fire Cannon, you don't actually have to go this item with Trinity Force, and everyone else here, Nidalee, Rengar, Rek'Sai, their items aren't getting touched at all, neither are they, so they have to remain here. Now, as far as low-key broken, we kind of talked about earlier, right, how Rumble was getting changes. Well, Rumble is not only going to deal more damage to monsters, but his passive, remember, he's getting more attack speed, which is really important when you're jungling because you want to overheat a lot, so you get in those attack speed and magic damage auto attacks. Now, other champions who are getting changed in 13-12 in the jungle, well, we've already mentioned Gragas. It's not going to have the biggest impact on him though in the jungle, and that's why he's remaining as a very good jungler in A tier. Then we have Kha'Zix, like we said, he's moving down to A tier as well. And apart from that, guys, like that is literally it for the jungle. Just make sure you're not playing Cho'Gath, Darius, Malphite, Nasus, Nautilus, and I'd highly recommend playing them in their actual roles. Now, moving into the bot lane, guys, and if you are enjoying our recent Season 13 uploads, please remember to leave a like down below. And the AD carries for 13-12. First of all, in OP tier, we have Draven, Karthus, and Xayah. How can you put Karthus and Xayah in here? Draven, hopefully you guys can understand, right? I think this champion is unbelievably strong. He's going to be by far the best laner. To be honest, he could even have his own tier. He's going to be that broken. But yeah, Karthus is also here because, well, all of the enchantresses in the bot lane are getting nerfed, right? And all those champions with kite, so a champion like Zeri, for example, especially when they have like a Lulu or like a Yuumi on top of them, super annoying to play against if you're Karthus. So I think like an engaged meta is actually going to be more prominent in the bot lane, and that's what Karthus loves, right? He loves people getting near him so he can land his layways and they sit on his defile. Xayah is here because, well, she's actually still a really good AD carry with something like Stormrazor into Nilvari Quickblades. It's an unreal setup for her, and because of all the engage, I think that's going to come back in to the actual meta. I think she's going to be nuts. So that's why Xayah is in OP tier as well. Now in S tier, we have Lucian because of the changes, right? Because his Vigilance passive, even though it's dealing less damage, now he has a bit more variety in terms of supports. Also, we should probably mention here that Lucian, because Gale Force is getting nerfed and Rapid Fire Cannon, that build might not be as good, but there still are some sneaky builds out there you can go, and I might even have some for a future video. So again, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now, low-key broken, we have Ashe in here, we have Heimerdinger and Yasuo. Now, the Donga and Yasuo are in here because, well, statistically, they are actually underrated ZD carries in most elos. But Ashe is here because she's actually getting buffed in 13-12. So your passive is dealing more damage, your W is dealing more damage, and your Enchanted Crystal Arrow, it doesn't really affect AD carry Ashe, but the actual damage is going up 20%. So that's why she's moving up to low-key broken. Other champions getting changed, well, we have Sivir, who is staying in C tier. Unlucky to all you Sivir mains, because you're losing AD per level, and even though you're getting a bit more damage in your Ricochet, your W, losing AD per level affects everything, right? Like your auto attacks, all of your abilities, it's just your W. So if you're not using your W, which will be most of the time, I'm guessing, I don't think it's going to be that impactful, and I feel a bit sorry for you Sivir mains out there, because if that's the buff you're getting, well, it's pretty underwhelming. Now, other AD carries, we talked about Zeri, right, who's getting nerfed. So the shield passive is getting removed. Also, your Q is no longer going to proc Sheen. So Trinity Force Zeri is probably no longer going to be a thing, and that's what was making her really broken. But you are getting a bit more base movement speed, 5, which is actually kind of huge, and your ease damage is also going up at later levels. So I don't think it's all that bad for Zeri, and that's why she's remaining in A tier. Then we also have Kog'Maw here, guys, as well as the actual damage in your W based on HP. This is going down, and that's why Kog'Maw, honestly, he probably would have been OP tier if this wasn't coming in, so that's why he's moving down to A tier. He'll still be good though. And as far as the actual items, guys, in the bot lane getting changed, well, we have Immortal Shield Bow that's getting buffed, we have PD that's getting buffed, and then we have Static Shift, like I mentioned, for Quinrad, also getting buffed. We should consider here, though, that Bloodthirster is going up to 3,400 gold, Gale Force is getting nerfed big time, and then we have Rapid Fire Cannon also getting nerfed as well, and Overheal is actually going to be suited a bit more for bruisers and fighters because it is getting nerfed for AD carries after level 5. Just make sure you guys are not playing AD Twisted Fate in the bot lane, and yes, I should also mention that Duskblade's interaction with Samira, this has been bug fixed, so Samira is in B tier because of it. Now the final role, guys, to talk about for 13-12, these are the supports. Now in OP tier, we have Blitzcrank, Pyke, Rakan, and Senna. These champions are unchanged in 13-12, and because lots of champions around them are getting nerfed, that's why they have to be here. And speaking of those champions, the first of these is Milio. So this champion, as far as your armor and armor growth go, these both are getting nerfed. Also, your passives on hit damage is going to a flat 15% attack damage. I still think he's going to be really good, but yeah, that's why he's in S tier and no longer OP tier. Now we also have Lulu, who's getting nerfed, exactly the same thing, right? Your base armor is going down, your passive damage is also getting nerfed, and the E shield at later ranks is getting nerfed as well. This is why Lulu is dropping all the way down to C tier. Then we also have Yuumi, who's getting nerfed. The actual attack speed buff in your E is going to scale up to 35%, no longer going to be 35% flat, and the heal in your ultimate is also getting nerfed as well as far as the base heal goes per hit. These are kind of big nerfs to Yuumi, but I still think she'll be kind of good with something like a Zarya or a Kog'Maw, someone who really appreciates attack speed, so that's why she's not in C tier like a Lulu. Now other champions getting changed, we talked about Ashe already, that's why she's in Low-Key Broken alongside Shaco and Twitch. Again, we will detail why these other champions are in the low-key underrated category, if you will. And apart from that, guys, like that's really about it for the bot lane. Moonstone Renewer is getting some, like, well, a lot of buffs. I don't know how impactful they're going to be. So champions like maybe Sona and Soraka might be interested in this, so keep your eyes on that. Ardent Sensor, though, unfortunately is getting nerfed, so if you were building this item, you won't appreciate it that much. And also Imperial Mandate is getting nerfed as well. So those are the tier list, guys, for 13-12. Let us know in the comments section if you agree or disagree with any of the champions. Any questions, leave them down below as well. And until our next Season 13 upload, this has been Coach X. Peace.